Okay, everybody, welcome back to Ottumwa. It's Bobby Harvey with another edition of Amtrak's California Zephyr and its station stop, westbound, here in Ottumwa. Welcome, everybody. It is a crisp, misty, kind of rainy evening here in Ottumwa, and we are getting ready for Amtrak. And so far, that is the only train that I've heard, or that is on its way that I'm aware of so far. Anyways, welcome everybody to the stream. We are starting just a few minutes late. I apologize for that. It is nice that YouTube allows me to schedule these recordings, because when I get down here, I literally just have to set up and hit go live and it's ready. It's a lot easier for me to get going in a pinch by setting up everything beforehand and then just literally hitting go and we're off. Everybody's here, we're chiming in. We're gonna go ahead and get to some shout outs right away here. A-Train is here, Nate Jackson is here, James from Hamilton, Ohio, C.A.B. DeBoth, and Annette is here. Welcome everybody. We are just getting started tonight. Nothing's happened yet, obviously. We're only about a minute 45 into the stream, but we are waiting for Amtrak. They are running pretty much on time. Checked the status immediately prior to beginning the stream. They are passing through Fairfield, and they're running about 7 minutes late out of Mount Pleasant. So they could very well get into Ottumwa on time. Matthew Bernstein is here from Olathe, Kansas. Doing well, thank you for asking. And as I said, it's been kind of a dreary day, not very cold. Maybe it's a tad warmer than what you're used to at this time of year, but pretty seasonal, I would say. But very kind of off and on rain, not a really steady rain. It's kind of rained off and on today, but not much. It has been very sporadic. There have been chances of rain all day, and it has rained, but it's just been a very fine, very faint mist. It's definitely gotten everything wet, but it hasn't been, driving rain. So we're going to be talking about trains, and obviously we're going to be seeing some trains here tonight, Amtrak and hopefully some other stuff, but we'll have to see about that. I'm going to be talking about my future, upcoming future live stream plans for next week. I'm hoping to have a 2 live stream week next week, and we'll get to that discussion here momentarily. But first, we're going to kind of set the scene here. Not much is going on yet. The signals to the east are lit. Let me take a look real quick and see if I can see all of the aspects. Now, I can't see from this vantage point, I cannot see the signal for Main 1, which is the track closest to us. But I can see the signal for Main 2 for trains going east, and it is red. Now the signals to the west, which are down at the ICNERX, which is BNSF's Diamond Crossing with CPKC, they are not lit yet. I suspect that'll be changing here momentarily with Amtrak approaching. And they should be here probably within the next 10-15 minutes or so, if not earlier. Koreatown 217, hanging in the lot waiting to see the Zephyr. Well, I'm assuming that that is the Market Street parking lot down there. You're here in town? That is actually a pretty good spot to see the train when it's daylight and also nighttime. It's a pretty good place. It's well lit around there by Market Street. Several street lamps nearby. You can get pretty good pictures there any time of the day. And along River Drive, which is a very short street that runs right past the depot, kind of in front of the Railroad Clubhouse, and then on the other side of Market Street, right in back of the south-facing downtown buildings to Green Street. And that is a really good place to stand and get trains at night as well, because you've got a lot of street lamps facing the road, but the light reflects backwards onto the tracks as well. And since they've changed all these lights in town to new LED lights, they've been that way for the past several years, you can get some pretty good pictures down there of trains at night. Gotten several pictures down there in the years past. One of the more memorable ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now is several years ago when there was an SD70 Mac leading the California Zephyr. It was a very, very cold night. I think the temperature was like 10 or maybe like 0. It was really cold. I think there was snow on the ground too. But I came out because there was an old former BN executive SD70 Mac leading the Zephyr. I'm like, well, that doesn't happen every day, so I figured I should get down here and get a picture of that. And I did, and it was down there, just past Market Street, along River Drive, where those lights are that I was talking about. For those of you that are tuned in, that's not what's happening tonight that I'm aware of. It's, as far as I know, the normal Amtrak consist. I was talking about some past catches that I've gotten over the years. There are actually several places here in Ottumwa where you can get very good pictures at night. And probably the best place you can get pictures now at night is right here on the platform. Since they've overhauled the platform for Main 1, which is going to be the platform they use exclusively from now on, because they're eventually going to take out the middle platform. They completely redid and refurbished a lot of this platform. The platform itself is new. The canopies are refurbished from the old ones. You can kind of see the original state of the platforms there, minus the roofs. They took those off in the end of 2013 because it was kind of becoming a safety issue. And that's how this one was until just a couple years ago, and they finally started overhauling them. They took them down in sections, sandblasted them, brought them back, put them on these new concrete supports so it would get the canopies up off of the platform. So when they treat the platform when it's wintertime, the bottom of the canopy base doesn't get all corroded and stuff, kind of like it has over there. So they brought those back, and they're nice repainted, and they've got a brand new nice roof on them. And they've also added, again, the platform is brand new, and it's kind of a floating platform. It's kind of up on some like concrete beams that run along the length of the platform, and the top of the platform just sits right on top of them. And that way, when the maintenance crews are going down Main 1 here doing work, it's easier for them to get underneath and around the tracks, as opposed to the old platforms, which is pretty much just a slab, as you can see right there. And they've also added some kind of some gravel over here, some accent like gravel, and fencing. So I'm not a big fan of fencing at stations, but this one's good. This one's not bad. And it's, as you can see, it's low enough that if you have a decent sized tripod like I do, you can still get pictures over the top of the fence if it were to obstruct your view. Of course, being on the platform, it doesn't. But down here, pan over here to the west, as you can see, the signals for the IC and the RX for westbound BNSF trains. Wow. Yeah, I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I could actually hear Amtrak whistling at crossings to the east. The sound is traveling really good tonight. Normally, you cannot hear that. You can hear Amtrak blowing for crossings way east of town. Sound travels a lot better when the weather gets cooler. Sure, it's something to do in the atmospheric, conditions. The sound travels better. But anyways, there is a bit of fence down there. You can't really see it right now, but just below the signal heads down there, you can kind of see that exclamation mark sign, which is pretty standard at Amtrak stations today. It says authorized personnel only. That is at the end of a small bit of fence that goes out and kind of protects the edge of the platform. Makes people not walk off the edge of the platform. So it would obstruct your view if you're taking pictures of trains coming from that direction. But again, because this fence is fairly low, if you've got a good tripod, you can put your camera right up next to the fence and shoot right over the top of it, and it does not obstruct your view at all. So, not a big fan of fencing at stations, but this is not a bad fence. And they actually made it look, you know, kind of nice, kind of old-fashioned in a way. It really does kind of tie into the old-fashioned look that they went with the refurbished platforms. And I'm really glad that they did refurbish one. The original plan was to refurbish both of them. Somewhere along the line that changed to just refurbishing one. And they really just need one now because BNSF put in new crossovers east and west of the station to allow Amtrak to come in on this track, Main 1, regardless of the direction. And with the crossovers, the dispatcher can run the train back over if necessary and not really muck up any of the additional train traffic that might be in town at the time. Now, a similar thing happens in Fort Madison, Iowa, which also has a refurbished platform and station. Amtrak always comes in on Main 1 in Fort Madison as well, for the same reason. There's only one platform. Now, I'm sure in an emergency situation, they could bring the train in on Main 2, but they would have to make several stops to let people in on one door and move the train up and vice versa. My guess is there's probably going to be some sort of a platform crossing down there eventually, so they could do that if necessary. But ideally, it's going to come in on Main 1 all the time. So we are getting close to Zephyr time. Got quite a few people watching tonight. Dakota is here. Great, thanks a lot is also here. I don't know if he was here earlier. No, I think he just chimed in. Welcome. Noah is here. He asks how long till the Zephyr. It's going to be pretty soon. A-Train said at 6:48 they're passing through Agency. And like I just said a few minutes ago, I could actually hear the train way off in the east whistling for crossings. So we are about ready for action here in Ottumwa. There are people on the platform now. I can't tell if that's crew or if that's I think it's passengers. Yeah. Yep. Passengers and the station attendant and probably the conductors and stuff will be getting ready to come out here soon. Jason, the rail fan aviation, is here. Welcome. Says he loves train spotting. Seems to be becoming more popular in my small little town and everywhere. And you know, it's a good thing that there are all these, you know, cameras and like live stream, like what I'm doing right now. And I think it really drums up the interest in rail fanning, also known as train spotting, as Jason just commented. Train spotting is kind of the phrase that a lot of people overseas use, like in the UK and other countries. Now, mentioning the signals to our west, which Amtrak has right now, it is yellow over green, which I'm pretty sure is an advanced diverging clear, advanced diverging maybe. So they might be crossing Amtrak over at that new crossover a few miles west of town. So I wonder if that means we might be getting 664 after Amtrak goes through. This is usually the time that they come through. I haven't heard anything about it yet, but it would not surprise me. So we'll just have to see. They come out of Cargill in Eddyville and run on Main 1 to Ottumwa before they cross over and do any station work that they would need to do. So we'll see. Amtrak's got a diverging approach. I think that's what that's called. Approach diverging, maybe. Yes, Jason, this is Iowa. It's Ottumwa, Iowa. And here comes Amtrak, California Zephyr, into Ottumwa. pretty much right on time. Here we go. Well, what do you know about that, folks? We have a double Phase VII lash up tonight. Engine 204 is our leader. And engine 69 is our second unit. Both are painted in Phase VII. Pretty awesome. Another thing that's kind of nice, not sure if this was intentional or not, but they seem to have spotted the train a little further up than they normally do. So we'll be able to see the engineer change a little better than we have in past weeks. Yeah, this is nice. I didn't have a chance to look at the Galesburg rail cam and see what the Zephyr looked like this evening, so I had no idea. Nice little surprise. And one, not just one, but two Phase VII locomotives. This is Amtrak's latest paint scheme, and I really like it. A lot of color. Engine 204 is one of Amtrak's newest P42 locomotives. Engine 69 is one of the older ones. Kind of nice to see that they have intentions keeping it going for as long as possible. And I wondered why there were more people viewing the video tonight. It might have something to do about these with these specially painted engines. Of course, before long, Phase VII will be pretty much dominant on all Amtrak locomotives. Phase V will be eventually phased out, no pun intended. Would not surprise me if some of you guys knew this was coming and so you tuned in. It was a nice surprise for me. Again, I did not have a chance to look at the Galesburg rail cam and see what was on the train tonight, so I was pleasantly surprised. Double Phase VII. Genesis diesels tonight on the Zephyr. Yeah, Dakota says pretty soon you may need hand warmers. Yep. Well, we're going to talk about that as the stream goes on. But just enjoying the night here so far with 2 Phase VII painted locomotives on the train. Now, believe it or not, eventually this will be commonplace, but right now it's still a special treat to see these new, freshly painted paint scheme on these Genesis diesels. Nice to know that Amtrak's going to hold on to them for a little while longer. In the front, and here's our second unit, also in Phase VII, number 69. Now, in all my years of filming Amtrak, especially the Zephyr, I have seen these engines a number of times. Obviously, back then they were painted in Phase V. I've seen these two engines many times over the years. Oh wow, we got somebody from Japan watching. Welcome. Yeah, it's morning over there, isn't it? The morning of Saturday. Or is it the morning of Sunday? I don't know. Yeah. The international date line is a very strange thing. I think you actually skip a day. So is it Sunday morning or Saturday morning? But regardless, welcome. Glad you're able to tune in. Okay, folks, that is the warning whistle. Train whistling off to make sure that everybody gets back on the train after stepping off at the fresh air stop that Ottumwa is. Everybody's on the train, and the train's a few minutes late, but they're going to be able to make up time if they get going here.
Eyeball low double, just getting. Eyeball Ottumwa. Yeah, that's the first thing up.
Off they go. Number 204 in the lead, followed by 69. Double Phase VII locomotives for tonight, followed by the Viewliner 2 baggage car. Here come the Superliners. Transition sleeper. Sleeping cars. Superliner 2. Superliner 1. Superliner 2 dining cars. They do their running brake test. Superliner 2 lounge. And the coaches. They are both Superliner 1s. We have a regular coach, coach baggage bringing up the rear. Conductor looking out along the train, making sure everything's okay as the brake indicator lights have gone green and the train is well on its way west. You can really hear those P-42s chugging as they accelerate away from the station, heading west. And it is just lightly misting rain right now. As you can see when the train pulled in, it almost looked like snow, but it was that light misty rain that I was talking about earlier. So the Zephyr is clear. They are heading west towards their next stop of Osceola in about an hour, followed by Creston, Omaha, Lincoln, and all points west. Now the train has a yellow over green, which I'm pretty sure is an approach diverging aspect, telling the engineer that they are approaching a diverging signal aspect at the next set of signals, which is probably for the new crossover that BNSF has put in about 3 miles west of here. So Amtrak's going to be running from main 1 to 2, probably because, I'm hoping at least, because there is another train coming east on main 1 that they're going to be going around. But you can't really see the green second signal head here from where we're standing. You can see the top one, which they are approaching the signal now. It's going to drop down to red here pretty quick. Going through Clay Street right now, and that's about where the signals are. It's the only set of crossing gates that's activated still right now. There go the signals. Zephyr is on their way. Not very late. They'll be able to make up that time if they don't fall any more behind. That was a good station stop. Nice surprise seeing the Phase VII painted locomotives. And again, I did not look at the Galesburg rail cam tonight to see what was coming, so I had no idea. I was totally surprised. So it's always nice to see something that you don't really expect to see, and it's a surprise. It was really neat. And actually, believe it or not, that is only the second time that we've gotten a Phase VII locomotive leading when I've been doing these live streams this year. I've seen a couple more trailing from time to time, but it's only the second time since I've been doing the live streams this year that we've seen one leading. So it's pretty neat. The signals have gone out to the west now. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The signals to the east are still lit, so... Okay, they're giving out track warrants now. Let's see what those are about. I'm guessing they're going to be for... Well, they're on CTC until Albia, till west of Albia, so it could be... I don't know if that's the conductor probably, because we're definitely out of range of his radio by now. I still hear the engineer probably, but... All right, so for those of you that might have missed Amtrak, they just left.
29, 29, Hamilton, 3569, 1. And 30, 3569, 3818, main 2. 31, 3818, Preston, main 1.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to be doing some hopscotching from main 1 to 2 to 1. West of Albia, where they're on track warrant territory, right here at CTC. From here to Albia, it's about 20 miles. And there's just a tad more CTC to the east of us until the new signaled crossover, and then it goes to track warrant territory going east as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here with the signals. Since Amtrak was crossing over down there at the new crossover about 3 miles west of here, I think it's 2833, I think is the control point name. There might be an eastbound movement on main 1, but we'll have to see. That's...
BNSF 44 to AMTK 204 West, I got 730-30, display for release, over.
Enter condition on AMTK 204 West, boarding clear track court 730-30, between CDC CP 2502, CDC Ottumwa, clear at 1911, over.
Understand AMTK 204 West, reporting clear on track mark 730-30, between CTC CP 2502 and CTC Ottumwa at 1911, 1911, is that correct, over?
After briefing, conductor, Van Alston, engineer agree that it's correct, over.
And both engineer and conductor agree, correct. And what were your times, over?
1856, 1905, over.
56 and 05, okay. All right, thank you. Have a safe trip to DS44.
Have a good day.
So they're only about 8 minutes late, which is not bad.
Amtrak number 5, there is diversion clear in front of me, over.
Yep, just as I suspected, diverging clear. So they are indeed crossing over.
Also train.
Now, we will see if there is another train waiting for them at that interlocking. And if so, it'll probably be about 5-10 minutes away. So we'll be watching those signals to our east and seeing what happens. So anyways, thank you everybody for watching tonight. We are about halfway through the stream. Anyways, for those of you that did not see Amtrak, just go ahead and back things up about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes to see Amtrak come in and leave. It was a pretty good consist tonight. We had 2 Phase VII Genesis diesels powering the train tonight. Leading was 204, second engine was 69. Excuse me. Always neat to see one of those leading, and it's even neater to see 2 of them. A whole pure Phase VII lash-up, which is still fairly unusual. Phase VII is still a pretty new livery, so it doesn't happen very much yet. But it will once more and more P-42s get repainted. The ones that Amtrak is going to keep running. Now, 204, I actually have a pretty long history with engine 204. The first time I got video of it was in Bering, Missouri. It was leading the Southwest Chief in March of 2005, right when I first started taking video. One of the first years. 2005, of course, was the birth year of Bobby Harvey Video Productions. I've been doing this for 20 years now, believe it or not. But anyways, engine 204 was leading the Southwest Chief, flying through Bering, Missouri, about 90 miles an hour with the eastbound train. And that was a very memorable run-by. That's actually on my YouTube channel. You search for Amtrak and Bering with the Express Track boxcar or something like that. That video I actually put up on YouTube in my flashback playlist. And you might also notice that that clip I actually used for kind of an ending logo for some of my newer videos. Kind of use that kind of to stylized into the end logo. really memorable run by early on in my videoing days. And that engine was leading the train in that shot. It was neat to see that engine still kicking here on Amtrak 20 years later in new paint.
That's not a problem. I think it'll be done before the 663 local will arrive. They just left. They're probably around Damon now. Over. Okay, I appreciate the heads up. Thank you. Should be a full 4 hours.
Well, if you guys remember last week, we got video of the 663, which was the westbound BNSF local. Sounds like they are on their way, but we won't be able to see them because they're still quite a ways out. They are passing Damon, which I'm pretty sure is around Mount Pleasant, so they're probably still a good hour and a half away for freight trains. It takes Amtrak about 45 minutes to get from Mount Pleasant to here, but a freight train, it takes a little longer, so they're going to be a ways out. But they were talking to what appears to be another train, I'm guessing going east. The dispatcher was saying something about they'll be done and out of the way, so I wonder if this eastbound is indeed a 664 local. I'm going to hop down and see what the signals look like to our east. As you can see, the westbound signals have come back on. They're all red, but if we've got a train approaching on Main 1, it'll probably stay all red until they get crossed over, so we will see. So again, thank you everybody for watching tonight and joining in. We are about halfway through the stream tonight. We've already seen Amtrak, and it looks like we might be able to see something else here pretty soon. So I'm going to go hop down and check these signals and see what I see behind us. Yet, as I suspected, there is a movement on Main 1 that has been lined up. Their eastbound signal has a diverging clear aspect, red over green, which means the train will be crossing from Main 1 to 2 after it goes by us. And that should be momentarily, I'm guessing, because I could already hear the that last radio conversation. I could already hear the radio of the crew of that train, and usually you can only hear the communications from the engine crew if they're only, a few miles out. So they are getting close. An eastbound train. I'm assuming, I'm guessing, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that this is a local from Eddyville. They tend to come through at this time, and the westbound counterpart 663 also comes through at this time of day now. That used to be a morning train, if I remember right, but now it's an evening train. 664 has been coming through at this time of day for many years. A lot of times they'll come through around Amtrak time, sometimes a little before, sometimes after. And it's always a good train to catch because there are usually some really good older engines leading the train. Not always. Sometimes they have modern 6-axle power, but most of the time it's older 4-axle power. Anything from GP38s to GP40s, some remanufactured GP30s, things like that. Sometimes they have SD40-2s on the train. We've actually gotten a couple run-bys of those locals in previous live streams, and they also are a train that has some of my favorite more modern 4-axle power, the Dash 840 BWs. You see those pretty frequently on this train. I like to think not quite as much as you did in the past. They were almost always on these trains years ago, but you still see them pretty frequently on this train, as well as one of BNSF's few surviving GP60Bs that are in operation. I think BNSF only has like 3 or 5 on the active roster. I think there used to be like 20 or so. They were made specially for Santa Fe back in the late 80s, early 90s. to complement or supplement their GP60M locomotives. They're cabless engines. That's why they have the B designation. So you can only use them as, second locomotives to supplement the power for, cab lash-ups. And there used to be a lot more of those type of engines out there. Of course, back in the day, the first generation of diesel engines, there were many B units. There would be the old F units and E units that EMD made. There would be the A units and then the B units. And they would run, railroads would run trains with lash-ups in ABA or AB or ABBA. Some railroads even had 3 or more B units in their lash-ups. And the main reason for that was diesel engines back in the day didn't have near as much horsepower as the modern engines do today. So the B units were a way for railroads to add more horsepower to their trains, and I'm sure it probably wasn't quite as expensive as a fully cabbed A unit. But now diesels have much more horsepower. I mean, we're talking about some of the original diesels had 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower, and today's modern 6-axle locomotives can have 4,400 horsepower just all by themselves. So additional engines, especially B units, aren't as necessary anymore. And of course, the number one constraint for a B unit is that you always have to have a cabbed locomotive with it. You can't run it by itself. So that kind of has some operational restrictions in itself. Now, the GP60Bs, I do think they had an interesting feature on them where one of the sides of the GP60B, if you've ever seen pictures of them, and I don't know if they still have them or not, but there's a window on the side, one of the sides of the GP60B, and behind the door that has that window are little hostler controls, where if you're in a yard setting, the hostler, which is the guy that shuttles engines around in yard settings, not on the main line, just around a train yard, it actually allows the hostler to run the B unit around independently. I don't know if all B units had that feature, but I'm pretty sure the GP60Bs did have that. Obviously, you can't run a train down the main line using those controls, but it allows you to move the engine around in the yard setting, so you don't always have to have a cabbed engine with them while you're moving them around and attaching them to trains and stuff. But I don't know if they still have those controls or not, but they did when they were delivered. Okay, we have the headlights for our approaching eastbound train in the distance. As you can see, they just rounded the bend. And we'll see what this train is, whether it's the 664 or it's something else. Now, before the crossover was put in to the east of us, the 664 would cross over down where the signals are down there, the IC and ERRX, right before the junction with CPKC. That crossover still exists, but it's a very slow crossover. It's a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit on it because it's very sharp. So obviously, operationally wise, it's a lot easier to bring them on down to the new crossover and cross them over because it's also a much broader crossover, a longer one, so trains can go through at a much higher speed than they would at the old crossover. The old one's still used for trains that are transferring from BNSF onto the CPKC and vice versa. But obviously those trains don't really have to go very fast because they're going to be branching down and going down into the CPKC yard anyways. Okay, so here we go, folks. This is train number 2, heading east, approaching us right now. And I don't know what this train is. I'm assuming that it's a local. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together from the radio conversations and the operations that we've seen so far tonight. Amtrak went west on Main 1 and crossed over, and here comes this train. So I'm guessing this is the local 664 from Eddyville, but we will have to see. Here it comes now. Yeah, It sounds like an E-bell, so I don't know if it's local or if it's some other train. We're gonna find out. They've got a diverging clear, so we'll see what it is. And that was indeed eastbound local train 664. And here I'm talking about this train having some cool older road power on it. And then it has a normal, standard 6-axle ES44s as the lash up. And like I said, that happens occasionally. So probably not, no arguments from the crew to have those more modern engines with the more modern amenities on the inside and the horsepower. Talking about 8,800 horsepower on that little train. I'm probably able to zip right along. But it was indeed the eastbound local from Eddyville. The 664 train runs from Eddyville to Galesburg, Illinois. And its counterpart, the westbound train 663, does the same thing the other direction, Galesburg to Eddyville. And that brings a lot of the tank car traffic from Cargill and some of the other industries around the Eddyville area, Angiomoto and a few others. And it takes them on to Galesburg to be interchanged in the yard with other trains to take them on to their final destinations. And they also do work, any other local work along the way between Eddyville and Galesburg. So they will do switching in Ottumwa quite often, switching out the tank cars and refrigerated box cars and hoppers that you'll see going to JBS and Lineage, some of the other little industries over there. They also do work in Mount Pleasant and Burlington, and even Agency from time to time, I'm pretty sure. There's a small little elevator along the tracks there at Agency. They will stop there occasionally. Just any local work that needs to be done, they will serve and take the cars on to Galesburg, where they will be forwarded on another train to where they need to go. And the westbound train 663 will do the same thing, switching any industries along the way as they go from Galesburg to Eddyville. These are really the only two local trains on this line, this portion of the line. And there's a local out of Creston that does work pretty much west of Creston. I think they might go a little east too, but I don't know how far east. But I think the local crew out of Creston also runs the train that goes south to Shenandoah, Iowa, from Red Oak down to Shenandoah, the old Farragut line. And it looks like they might have stopped down there. You still see the end of train device from the tank car down there, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you still see it. They might be doing some work. That might have been what they were talking to the dispatcher about. And she was saying how they would be done before 663 came in. And that's another advantage to having that crossover, because now the westbound local has a better way to serve the industries on the other side, just like 664. They can switch cars out on that side and then just cross right over and keep going. Now, there was a crossover down there, but it was not a signaled crossover. It was a very sharp, manually thrown crossover, and I don't ever remember ever seeing any trains use it. Might have been out of service, I don't know. But now, of course, they replaced it with a brand new signaled crossover controlled by the dispatcher. And that allows for much smoother, better operations and faster operations, especially for these local trains and for Amtrak. Amtrak's done with their station work going east. If there are any opposing trains on Main 1, they can just run Amtrak right over to Main 2 and then send all the other trains through that need to come through after Amtrak is by. So that local just went through. The signals to our west are now dark. I'm pretty sure the signals to the east are also dark now. But, we're about 51 minutes in. I like to keep these streams about an hour long or so, hour 10. So we're going to keep things rolling just to make sure that we haven't seen everything that needs to be seen, that can be seen right now. I think they might have actually kept on going. I don't see the end of train device anymore, but they could have just pulled up out of view. So, before we get too far along... Yeah, they're doing work down there. Can hear them on the radio. 664 that we just saw go by. But if 663 is going through Damon, I mean, they're not going to be here for another hour or so, so they got plenty of time to do their work and get on the road. But obviously, we're not going to be going that long. We're probably going to be going for another 10, 15 minutes or so. Unless, you know, something else gets lined up here to come through pretty quick. Which has happened before, but we will see. So we're going to go back through some of the comments here before we get too far off track here, so to speak. So yeah, we had some viewers in Japan earlier, and they did confirm that it is Saturday morning over there right now. I'm guessing it's probably mid-morning over in Japan right now. I don't know how many hours ahead they are from us, but it's quite a few. The international date line, as I was saying earlier, is a very interesting thing, because if you're flying from the West Coast here in America over to Japan, you cross the international date line, and let's say that it's about this time in California. When you cross the date line, it's, you know, mid-morning, maybe even almost afternoon over there. So it's almost like you go, like, you time travel. I mean, you don't really, because everybody experiences the same thing at the same time all around the world. But because of the date line and the way the sun is, you know, and the way the days line up in Earth, it really is almost like you're traveling through time, and you almost skip a day when you're flying from the West Coast of America over across the date line to any of the countries over on the other side. You pretty much miss a day. But when you're coming back, it's like you experience the same day twice. I mean, it's really weird. It's a really strange thing to try and wrap your mind around when you cross that date line. So if you're going the other way, and it's, you know, morning in Japan, let's say it's Friday over there, when you fly back, it's essentially late evening Friday over here. So it's like or no, that's wrong. I did that wrong. It's actually Thursday. It would actually be Thursday night over here. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. So it's like you go back in time, but you don't really. But it's really interesting to think about. Of course, I have yet to travel across the international date line. I hope to get to Japan someday. I've always thought it'd be neat to go over there and ride the bullet train and all the different trains they have over there. Fiery Flame is here asking if I've heard of the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad. Yes. That is another railroad I'd like to go see sometime. Of course, I'm sure you all know that I volunteer and I film the trains over at Old Threshers in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, which isn't very far away from here. And a lot of their equipment came from the Colorado narrow gauge railroads, Denver and Rio Grande and others. Very famous narrow gauge lines out there that I'd really like to get to and ride one of these years. It's one of my favorite old train videos back in the day when I was a kid. I still enjoy watching it. America by Rail. They featured the Durango and Silverton Railroad in their program. Definitely that was the first time I had ever heard of the railroad, and naturally I know a lot more about it now. But yeah, it's a very famous line. Definitely one that I will ride one of these days, along with the Georgetown Loop, Cumbres and Toltec, and all those other famous Colorado narrow gauge lines out there. And the A-Train was commenting about the locals' power that we just saw go through. It was a two six-axle engines. Wow. Hawkeye, Roo for RU4WJ. Super chat. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Very generous. Thank you. A-Train commented about BNSF seems to be short on 4-axle power sometimes. Probably true. For some of those older engines are getting older and require more maintenance and things like that. You know, they're really not making any new 4-axle power these days. Anything you get is either remanufactured or, you know, heavily modified from the original engines. And I suppose eventually it'll just be nothing but 6-axle engines. Or they send their older engines through some very heavy overhauls. And I was talking about the local getting cars at agency. A-Train says it is a fertilizer plant and that it's been getting some cars lately. Amtrak 150 Railfan Production says, I caught Amtrak 174 on the Silver Meteor train in New York City. And that is actually the very first Phase VII painted Genesis locomotive, and I actually got it leading the Zephyr on, I think it was its very first revenue run after it was repainted. Of course, it was about this time of year, probably approaching, has it been 2 years already? Approaching 2 years ago? That does not sound right. I think so. I think it was the beginning of 2024 when it came through. Man, I can't believe it's been that long already. It's amazing. And there's been several more P-42s that have been repainted into Phase VII. I like to say there's probably about 10 or 12 of them now, if not more. I used to keep track of all of them, but there have been so many that I've kind of lost track of all the engines that have been repainted. 174 was the first, and I'm pretty sure that 82 was the second one. And then there were some others, 138, 69, 75, 204 is one of the more recent ones, and many others, but I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but I'd say there's probably at least 10 or 15 now that have been repainted in the Phase VII. And it's a neat paint scheme. I'm really glad that Amtrak designed that paint scheme. It's a lot better than Phase V. I mean, I'm used to Phase V. I've seen it for the past, well over 20 years now. And it's what I'm used to, and it's what I'm, it's not a bad paint scheme, but it it doesn't age very well. I mean, Phase 5 looks the best on freshly repainted equipment, but over time it just gets really faded, and there's not much color to it at all on the sides. So I mean, you see, every little blemish and every little dent and scrape in the engines, and without any color on the sides besides the gray. I mean, it just does not age very well. And aesthetically, it's not really, I don't know, there's just not much to it. So I mean, Phase 7 is a much needed change, in my opinion. It really brings back a lot more color to the locomotives, and probably more color that's been on an Amtrak engine than ever before, because prior to that, you have to go all the way back to Phase 1, really, when there was a lot of color on the front and sides of the engine. And then they went to all these striped paint schemes in Phases 2, 3, and 4, which were pretty much just the platinum mist with the stripes going down the front and the sides of the engines and cars. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Phase 7 looks like on passenger cars. There aren't very many out there yet, mainly just on Amfleet cars and Viewliners. But Amtrak does have plans to repaint some of their Superliners. And the way it looks is it's just going to be kind of a band down kind of where the stripes are on the Phase 6 right now, also known as Phase 4B. That's on Superliners right now. It's pretty much just going to be a block of paint that goes along that line, and it's going to have kind of the same Phase 7 styling, alternating the different shades of blue and red. And on the passenger cars, Phase 7 kind of has different color coding to allow passengers to easily determine what type of car it is. I think the sleeping cars, I'm not sure if I'm trying to think. I think the sleeping cars have red on one side, and I think the coaches have green, or is that the food service cars? There's like different color codes for different passenger cars in Phase 7. Red is for sleeping cars, and I think there's a blue and a green. And it's, seems kind of odd that they would incorporate green into an Amtrak paint scheme, a standard Amtrak paint scheme, because it's always been, just reds and blues and, dark blues and grays. But it is going to be incorporated into the Phase 7 livery on passenger cars. So it'll be interesting to see what the Superliners look like when they get around to that. Of course, Amtrak will eventually be getting some new equipment to replace the Superliners, but that is many, many years out, because I don't think they've really determined what that equipment is going to be yet. My guess is it's going to be single-deck equipment, because there really aren't any manufacturers that are making new double-decker equipment that meets the crashworthiness standards that Amtrak is asking for. There was a car manufacturer several years ago, Nippon Sharyo, which is a Japanese company, I'm pretty sure. I think it's similar to Kinki Sharyo, which is a company that makes light rail equipment around the world. One I can think of off the top of my head is they are the company that makes the DART light rail vehicles in Dallas. And they make some for other cities around the U.S. as well, but mainly abroad. I don't know if they're related companies or not, but anyways, they had a design. I think they won a contract for the new passenger equipment that would be used in the Midwest and California and some of the other corridors, and it did not meet the crashworthiness standards. It failed the crash tests that were done, and they weren't able to come up with a new plan. So the original plan was going to be double-decker cars, but it fell through, and so Siemens actually got the contract and started making the Venture cars instead, which are similar to the cars that they were already producing for Brightline in Florida. So the Venture cars were not the original cars that were intended for the state-supported trains, but the contract was given to Siemens because Nippon Sharyo was not able to come up with a revised design that would meet crashworthiness standards. So I don't think that Amtrak is looking for new double-deck equipment. Possible if somebody could come up with something, but I'm thinking the next order of long-distance cars for the Western trains is going to be single deck. And that'll be interesting because that's kind of like a Back to the Future kind of thing where you go back to what these trains were before the superliners. Obviously the California Zephyr and the Chief, of course the Super Chief, Empire Builder, Sunset Limited, those were all single deck trains before Amtrak. It'll be interesting to see if that happens, which will still be many years down the road, how long those trains will be with single-deck cars, because obviously you can get a lot more people into double-decker cars. Probably a 7-car Superliner train like we saw tonight, it would probably have to be a 10 or 11-car train, single-deck, to have the same amount of capacity. So operationally, it probably would not be an advantage if you're pulling more cars, but I suppose they'd be lighter. I'm sure, you could still manage with 2 locomotives, maybe 3 on occasion, but anyways, that is a long ways down the road. And if they do, I don't know if this meets modern crashworthiness standards or not, but if they do make single-deck cars for the long-distance trains, I hope, and again, I don't know if this will meet modern crashworthiness standards for new equipment, but I hope that they would come up with some sort of new version of the Vista Dome, because the Vista Dome is probably the most awesome single-deck passenger car that was ever built, and it gives you probably the best view of the railroad from any other car, streamlined passenger car that was ever produced. It is fantastic. Obviously, you don't get a chance to see that on Amtrak now because there are no dome cars on Amtrak anymore. Even the Ocean View, which was the very last dome car that Amtrak had, was a full-length dome. They sold that off several years ago, but it now operates at the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad out east. So it's still operating, but not on the main line. My mom and I actually got a chance to ride the Ocean View, and it was still on Amtrak years ago in 2013 on the Illinois Zephyr. And that video is actually up on my YouTube channel. And that it wasn't a Vista Dome, it was a full-length dome, but it still gives you the same effect of being able to see over the train. But the Vista Dome is even better than a full-length dome, and it is a great car to ride in. You get the best view to the sides, all around you, and overhead. Great if you're going through the mountains, which obviously I've never really experienced that. The last time I rode in a Vista Dome on Amtrak, I was very little. When we went to Washington, D.C., and the Capital Limited still ran with Heritage Fleet and dome cars, and that was the one and only time that I rode in a Vista Dome on Amtrak. My mom got some video of us up there in the Vista Dome, so I still have some preserved memories from that trip. But yeah, it would be neat if they could somehow make a modern version of the Vista Dome. Now, if you are in the Midwest, one railroad that is still operating Vista Domes on tourist trains, which me and my family have recently gone down there a few months ago. The Branson Scenic Railway operates several old Burlington Vista Domes on their excursion trains, and it is fantastic. So A-Train just commented about the Superliner replacement process. The Amtrak has started the process of replacing the Superliners. Some proposals that have been seen were bi-levels, and a former proposal might be made early next year. Yep, that's pretty much what I've heard too. So Bilevels are not necessarily off the table, but it's going to be a little more difficult because there aren't very many manufacturers making bilevel cars that aren't suited for like commuter runs. So they would really have to heavily modify them to be appropriate for long distance trains. But I suppose you could make one into one. It'd be interesting to see what they come up with. So ideally, it would probably make more sense to have bilevels, but if they do go with single deck, I do hope they find some way to make a Vista Dome, or if anything, just a car kind of like what you'd see on the Rocky Mountaineer train with the wraparound windows, something like that. But the Vista Dome would be the best type of car. But again, I don't know if they're able to, with all the regulations and stuff that there are today. I don't know if you could make a new car like a Vista Dome. But never know unless you try. But that's if this order is single deck cars. We'll have to see. But even if they make an announcement next year, it's going to be years and years down the road before the cars actually start to appear. Now, another type of Amtrak train that is about ready to be rolled out is the Aero trains that are being made, that are going to start replacing some of the Amfleet cars in the east and supplementing some other train services around the country. The first set is going to go to the Cascades trains in the Pacific Northwest. One set has already been completed and is out east right now, about ready to begin testing on the Northeast Corridor. And the Aero trains are built by Siemens. They are very similar to the Venture cars. They are very similar, a little more adjusted for longer distance trains, and they're a little nicer, I think. And they also have cab cars. Those will be kind of interesting. And the locomotives are kind of a Charger variant, ALC 42Es or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there as well. But those are new train sets, and I think they're like semi-permanently coupled together in like 5 or 6 car consists. And again, those aren't really going to be running around here. They're mainly going to be used for trains around the Northeast Corridor and some of the shorter distance trains out there. That will eventually be replacing the Amfleets, which are some of Amtrak's oldest cars, believe it or not. I still think of them as being pretty modern, but they're really getting old. Some of them were built in the late 70s, early 80s, so they're almost about as old as Amtrak itself. Amtrak's already over 50 years old, so I mean, they're old cars. So we have been going for about an hour and 15 minutes now, folks. I think we're going to go ahead. The signals have lit up out east, but nothing to the west. So I don't think we'll probably see much more tonight as it is. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight. Had a lot of people watching. I really appreciate you guys watching. But before we go, a little preview of what I have planned for next week. Now, of course, this could all change, but here are my plans for next week. We are getting into the holiday season. The CPKC holiday train is going to be coming through Ottumwa. The event is on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, but they will be pulling into town most likely Tuesday night. And I am planning on doing a live stream Tuesday night. It'll probably be late Tuesday night. Probably around, after 10 o'clock or so. So it's going to be a late night, but I'm planning on doing a live stream of the CPKC holiday train as it comes into town, which it'll be all lit up. You'll be able to see the train go by and everything live. I've gotten the train several times in previous years with my normal video camera, so this time I'm going to do a live stream. And I might set up my camera on the tripod too and see what happens, and just let it roll while I do the live stream. But yeah, I'm planning on doing that on Tuesday next week. I will let you guys know just how that's going to go down as it gets closer. So that's Tuesday. And I also plan on doing another normal live stream either Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving. We'll have to see about that. And because the weather is about ready to change, the temperatures are going to get very cold next week. So like I've been saying the past couple of live streams, I'm going to start doing kind of a split themed live stream where we see Amtrak, and then the second half of the live stream will be in the car having some more train discussions and maybe going and driving to see some other trains that are in the area. That way I can stay warm, and the my phone battery won't drop like a rock like it did that one time in the cold weather. Can allow it to get in the car and get some charge on it as the stream continues. So my next weekly stream, not including the holiday train, but that'll probably be from the car some too. My next stream will probably be the beginning of what I'm probably going to call Winter Trains and Chat, where we'll see Amtrak and then any other trains and have some railroad discussions. And the first half will be out here on the platform for Amtrak. The second half will be from the car, having some railroad discussions, and any other trains that might be in the area we'll go see for the last 30 minutes of the stream. So the high for Friday next week is going to be in the lower 30s. So I think we're going to start that next week. So I will let you guys know with that as well. My normal video uploads, I'm working on the Trains that Old Threshers. Started writing the script a couple days ago, so it's coming along slowly but surely. So I'll let you guys know how I'm doing on that in future streams as well, and let you guys know when to look out for that video. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up from the station platform here tonight. We got to see a pair of trains, got Amtrak with the Phase VII locomotives and BNSF's eastbound local train 664. So with that, we are going to go ahead and end the stream for this evening. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all early next week, late Tuesday night. I will let you guys know when everything's going to happen, and we will go from there. So long, everybody. Have a good weekend. We will see you all early next week for kicking off the holiday season with the CPKC holiday train. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. So long.